So we're going to talk about Rachel first. Please put some orange hearts in the chat for Rachel, because this woman, uh, uh, just breaks my heart what happened to this woman and how her family, her children especially, um, what this man has done to this family is terrible. So yeah, let's go with the orange hearts for Rachel. We have to remember, these just terrible when it's all the ripples that go out from that horrible act that he did to Rachel, the ripples that go out, to her 5 children, anyone who ever loved her, all her family, her boyfriend at the time. He came under suspicion briefly, of course. And, I'll do some for you, Tracy. Can't you do orange hearts on you? There you go. If you type in emojis orange, that's what I did. I typed in orange and then they came up, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work on yours. A boyfriend probably previous partners of Rachel came under suspicion very briefly, because as we'll see soon, some DNA was found. It was a complete shock, wasn't it? The DNA was found on another crime scene all the way over in Los Angeles, right over the other side of America from Maryland. DNA was found, it was found to match that had been with a previous crime, a similar crime, but it didn't result in a death, at least, thankfully. And also, of course, we know that this is definitely a fledgling serial killer. Let's have a look at him. We should have a look at him. Now I've put him, this is him, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. And this man is from El Salvador originally. So we know he was in Los Angeles at some point because he committed a horrible crime there. Then he went over to Maryland, right, as I say, right over the other side of America, and he murdered Rachel. He had family over there, I think, or people he knew. He then fled from there and he went to, I think it was Tulsa. Yeah, Tulsa police. That's where he was finally arrested. He's traveled all over America. He doesn't have transport, so it seems like he's traveled in Greyhound buses or whatever. I know America's probably easy to, you can get around it, even though it's huge. And, just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Has he committed any other crimes? He certainly would have committed more crimes, wouldn't he? He definitely would. This guy was not going to stop, because then it turned out that even in his before he even left El Salvador, he'd murdered a girl there as well. So I don't know what's going to happen about that. I know that in Maryland, the sheriff doesn't want him. They don't want him to go out of their control, to go back to El Salvador to face a trial there. He wants to keep him exactly where he knows where he is. So I don't know what will happen there. I mean, surely they could have him on a video link or something. Don't actually have to take these in this day and age. Surely you don't have to actually take somebody to a place for them to have a trial. Can't you have a trial over a video link? Just want to show you this picture of Rachel. This was Rachel. And there's lots of lovely pictures of Rachel that are on her Facebook, Instagram, etc. And of course, with her children. Now, Rachel, incredibly, of course, is now a grandma as well. Her oldest daughter, Faye, has had a baby. And, although it seems sad that Rachel didn't get to meet her granddaughter in this life, I 100% believe that Rachel would have met her granddaughter in the pre-life, and it's almost like it was meant to be, isn't it? That as unfortunately Faye lost her mum, but now she's got a baby to look after, to give her love to you know, and Faye and her mum and Rachel had such a lovely relationship. You know, from what I can gather about Rachel, she was a fabulous mum, and you know, so hopefully Faye will have that relationship with her daughter as well. And I hope to God, and I'm sure that Rachel, in the pre-life, before that baby, in that time before that baby was actually born, and after Rachel sadly had died, maybe they met in the pre-life. That's what I like to think, and I'm going to think that. People can either believe it or not. I believe it 100%. Okay, so we're going to watch a video from News Nation that gives a background to this case, just gives us a reminder, because of course the actual incident was 2 years ago. So it's quite a long time ago, but you know what? It feels like yesterday. It's weird, really. Just feels like yesterday that we were, you know, looking for answers for Rachel. Oh, first of all, as well, I just want to show you, I've put him in the hellhole already. Into the hellhole. Adios, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. And he's like a little sort of, I don't know, little short ass, and you know, he doesn't look scary. He's very clever. I do think Victor is cunning. You know, quite often we get twonks that we talk about, and they're not really that clever, are they? I do think Victor is quite clever or cunning. He's like a fox. He's cunning. You know, he was all over the country, and you know, he's got this, you know, to have got over the border, and he's escaped. He's really been on the run. If you take it from when he killed the girl in El Salvador, he's been on the run for a long, long time. And he took in his family, you know, he's used I think he's probably one of those people that would ring up, you know, his 22nd cousin, thirdly removed, like, you know, and say, oh, I'm your cousin and can I come and stay because blah, blah, de blah, de blah, de blah. I expect he's imposed on a lot of his family. And of course, they didn't know what sort of person he was. And of course, he's South American, families are important, you know, family ties, there's large extended families that in that sort of community, in that culture. And Victor the Viper, he used it to his best advantage. And yeah, as I say, he was on the run for, you know, if you even just count from when Rachel was murdered, it was a long time. But if you think about it, from when the girl in El Salvador was murdered, it was a really long time that Victor was on the run. So he's got some cunning, hasn't he? You know what I mean? Okay, so let's have a look at this video. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to do any videos this weekend. I'm supposed to be doing my Spanish, but I just could not face it. I'd much rather be chatting to you guys. And there were things I wanted to talk about, like Rachel Morin's sentencing of her murderer and these remains found on the beach, etc. And Jack O'Sullivan, of course, who I've been meaning to talk about again for quite a while, but there's always something, isn't there? But I like to keep highlighting Jack's case because, you know, at the end of the day, he's still missing. So let's have a look at this video. So we're going to start, though, with... this is a very, you know, I really do like, I need to give News Nation credit. They're a very good channel. You know, it's a very interesting video that sort of compacts in everything, you know, about the case. The only thing that's, you know, they're going to have Rachel's mum speaking after the sentencing on Monday. Well, you know, unfortunately, Rachel's children are suing Rachel's mum because her and her lawyer, the children didn't get any of the GoFundMe that was put in place supposedly for them. They've never seen a penny of it. So they are suing Rachel's mum. And from what I can gather from somebody who's very close to the whole situation, Rachel's mum spent more time with Donald Trump than she did with Rachel's children after Rachel was murdered. That was their exact words. So I'll just leave that there, though. So that's the only thing. Here on News Nation, she's going to be interviewed. You know, they'll be just she'll bring in something about illegal aliens, and Donald Trump's a bloody hero, according to her. But we will look at that on Monday. We will be covering the sentencing on Monday.
Perfectly ordinary thing on a perfectly ordinary evening, and paid for it in unspeakable ways. I know you remember what happened. The ambush on the jogging trail, the rape, the killing, the months-long hunt for a suspect, and finally the capture, the trial, the speedy conviction. On Monday, Rachel Morin's killer will stand before a judge in Maryland to learn his fate, which I can tell you already is going to be a damn sight better than his victims. Ashley Banfield looks back on the case.
It was a little after 6 p.m. on an August Saturday in 2023 when Rachel Morin parked her car near the entrance of the Ma and Pa Trail.
Now, this trail is a beautiful place, you know, where families go. Rachel's been walking there ever since she was a child. She was taken there by her parents. You know, she's walked there all her life and never felt, it's not, looking at it, it's not a place where you feel that you'd feel unsafe, because there's a lot of people about. But you know what, these sort of Victor the Viper, when evil comes like that, you sometimes you wonder, how can you ever stop these things happening? Now, since Rachel was murdered, they've put CCTV cameras everywhere. These AI ones, you know, that I don't know, do something spectacular. So, you know, but of course, even CCTV cameras, they don't stop things happening, but they help to catch killers. And I suppose they at least put people off if they can see that there's cameras on them everywhere. So, yeah, that's something that's been done since Rachel was killed.
She still had a good 2 hours to get in a run. And for a 37-year-old mom of 5 and a fitness fanatic, this trail was more than a workout. It was a refuge, a place to unwind, to recharge, to clear your mind after a hectic day. It used to be a railroad line. The Ma stands for Maryland, and the Pa stands for Pennsylvania.
And I didn't know that, because I had just presumed Ma and Pa. I just presumed it was like mum, you know, a family place. But no, so thank you, Ashley, for letting us know where the name comes from. Maryland and Pennsylvania Heritage Trail.
But as a green space, it sees more traffic than ever before, on foot and on bikes. And while Rachel Morin never expected to have the trail to herself, she most certainly did not expect to face a killer just minutes after starting her run. That killer was lying in wait for...
Now, the guy's eyes just go through, don't they? It's very sad to think that that was the last face that Rachel saw, that horrible face of his. It's really horrible to think that. Bless her. I hope she didn't suffer for very long. I mean, it was a brutal murder, but I'm just hoping she didn't really know what was going on, because after he hit her over the head and that, but I think she perhaps did know what was going on for a little while. But anyway, it's best not to think about that. She's out of all that now. But just the thought of those horrible eyes being the last eyes that you see on this earth.
Rachel, or for someone to come around a bend. But he probably didn't wait long. And when he saw his chance, he took it. He grabbed Rachel Morin and dragged her through the woods, and then raped her and beat her to death. When the unimaginable violence was over, he dumped Rachel's body in a drainage culvert.
Yeah.
And hours later, when Rachel didn't come home...
Yeah, he just dumped her in the storm drain thing, or whatever, or culvert. just disgusting, like she was a piece of rubbish. I mean, I don't know the circumstances of the murder in El Salvador, but I do know that the Los Angeles incident was a child, a young girl, and her mother. I mean, we don't know the full details, and I presume that'll go to trial sooner or later. I don't know, but he literally walked in. It was a home invasion. Literally walked into their home and then walked out again, as cool as a cucumber. We'll see that video on here.
Home, her new boyfriend, Richard Tobin, reported her missing. Police searched the trail and the surrounding areas, but they came up empty-handed. And it wasn't until early the next afternoon when a passerby spotted Rachel's naked body and called 911.
Now, that's not actually factually correct. It was not a passerby. The girl who found Rachel was Cecilia. She was the daughter, wasn't she, of Michael? If you remember, if you were watching it with me all that time ago, Michael was a guy that initially, we felt a little bit suspicious of, because he seemed very sort of nervous, and he sort of interjected himself into everything. But it was his daughter, and she was actively searching for Rachel. She wasn't a passerby. I think it was actually this Michael, her father, who said to her, don't know if he's her stepfather or her father, but said to her to go and look in these drains. So that was another thing that felt a little bit suspicious. But the thing is, Michael, he knows that area inside out. And really, I suppose if you did know it, does seem a likely place, doesn't it, to find somebody's body. So that's not quite true, what Ashley's just said. She was not a passerby. She was searching for Rachel, and she found Rachel.
We just received a call from a Cecilia who's advising that she has located the missing Rachel Morin subject on the Montauk in a tunnel that runs under 23 for 4 near mile marker 2.75 on the Montauk.
Police called the attack a potentially random act of violence with no obvious suspects or leads. The boyfriend was ruled out from the start, but just 11 days later.
Yeah, so her boyfriend might have been ruled out by the police, but of course on social media, you can imagine, can't you? He did, and mainstream media, I think he did get a lot of shade thrown his way. That is just statistics, it normally is the partner, isn't it, or the ex-partner, or, that unfortunately is the statistical truth. So her partner at the time, he did take a lot of stick also, because he had a bit of a checkered history. He had domestic violence in his past, things like that. So although he was cleared by the police, more or less instantly, as far as the court of public opinion was concerned, really until the police released details that they were looking for a particular suspect with a particular DNA, Rachel's boyfriend unfortunately did get quite a bit of shade thrown his way.
Later, on August 17th, a major break in the case. DNA from Rachel's crime scene matched DNA from another crime scene. A crime scene.
Now, I remember as clear as day Hi, Joanne. I remember as clear as day this press conference that the sheriff gave. And it was really startling, because I don't think any of us were really expecting that. That the murderer of Rachel, their DNA would be matched to a crime right over the other side of America. Gosh, that's a hell of a distance. Let's have a look. From Los Angeles to Maryland. It's a massive distance. Look. So this is where the crime was in Los Angeles. And he travelled all the way, you know, so there was a lot of speculation. Well, you're thinking, oh, must have transport, you know, must have. And then some people were saying, oh, well, you could get a plane. It wouldn't take that long, you know, because, of course, there's internal flights, etc. But, yeah, very, such a long way away, isn't it? So it was a real shock when Sheriff Jeff came out with this, that this DNA had been found at this other crime scene so far away. And then, of course, where Victor the Viper was finally caught was somewhere in the middle here, like Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he's gone from Los Angeles. Well, he's been on the run from El Salvador to start with, from the previous murder that he did. He's got over the border. He's got somehow, he must have known people maybe in Los Angeles. Of course, there's a high Hispanic what's the word, group there, you know, a lot of people from South America live in Los Angeles. And then he's gone all the way to Maryland, and then from there, when maybe he's, because he did stay there for quite a long time afterwards, he didn't leave immediately. And then somehow he's found his way to Oklahoma, and he was working there. He was working there, my God. He was sat in a bar having a beer when the police went and arrested him. And of course, we watched that as well, didn't we? We watched the arrest video. Just sat there cool as a cucumber having a beer. But I tell you, it was a nice moment, wasn't it, when the police went in? It was a really nice moment when they went in to arrest him. Right, I've got to find my way back to that now, yeah? He's certainly a traveller.
That was almost 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles. That's where a man had committed a violent home invasion, assaulting a 9-year-old girl.
A 9-year-old girl he'd assaulted. This was before he killed Rachel. So he was just an accident waiting to happen. And this sort of video, it did throw everybody off a little bit, because he's very broad, and you can even see that in his later pictures and that. But like, because this was through like a doorbell camera, I think it exaggerates his size, because when you see him, he's actually a little titch, like just like a little, but he is, you can see that he's quite muscly, wiry. You know, he's strong. Even though he's little, he's strong, isn't he? Having said that, Rachel was only tiny as well, so I don't think he would have had much problems even though she was fit. You know, she was only little.
And her mother. And it wasn't just DNA that he left behind. He left.
Oh, yeah, and her mother as well. So a 9-year-old girl and her mother. So this was him. Do you remember how many times we watched this video? Yes, very broad-backed, isn't he? And then we sort of, his haircut. Now, notice when he was arrested, he'd grown his hair. So at the time, he was a very close-shaven with this fade haircut that's so popular, isn't it? You know, a very broad, he's carrying his shirt. He walks out that house like he's not done anything wrong. You know, it was just breathtaking.
Behind this video clip, while making.
Yeah, so look, you can see how broad he is.
His getaway after the assaults.
Doesn't even run off. He just casually comes out that house, goes down those steps. And there was further video of him. He was just yawning and stretching. You know, he doesn't run. Bloody hell. You know, he is ice cold, this guy.
But the suspect's name and his whereabouts remained a mystery for months. 6 months, to be exact. That's when investigators released a sketch, hoping for another break. But it really turned out to be the DNA in the case
I don't think
for another break.
The sketch doesn't look like, I'm sorry, I don't think the sketch looks like him at all, now that we can see him. Personally, I don't think the sketch was, you know, but sketch, I don't know, what do you think? Look, It's just the nose is too small. It's the same shape, but it's sort of too small. Don't know. Of course, he's grown his hair here. I suppose it looks a little bit like him, but I think the eyes are wrong. But anyway, it's difficult to do a sketch. Sketches rarely look exactly like the person, do they? You know, that's very rare that they look exactly like the person. But anyway, that was the sketch that was done. So I think they were misled by the doorbell cam, you know, because it made him look bigger than he was. And then the sketch didn't look like him. But anyway, in the meantime, of course, where it felt like, I know the family, you know, certain people that I know that know Rachel, they were all giving up a little bit that any answers would ever be found because it was going on so long. But of course, we didn't know that behind the scenes, it was all happening. The DNA was getting matched up, etc.
But it really turned out to be the DNA in the case that led the way. And it was the DNA that eventually solved it. Genetic genealogy turned up potential family members of the suspect in El Salvador. And those relatives gave the FBI a name: Victor Martinez Hernandez, who at just 23 years old was also wanted for the murder of a young Salvadoran woman. Hernandez had slipped.
So he's 23 years old. He's murdered 2 women and a serious assault on a 9-year-old girl and her mother. You know, mate, I still don't really believe in the death penalty, but you know, it's cases like this where I do wonder. Because, you know, he's just breathing everybody else's air, isn't he? What contribution did he give to society? Nothing. And what contribution is he going to give to society? Nothing, because he won't even admit, you know, what he did. His eyes are like the devil's eyes, aren't they? There's hell in those eyes. Apparently he had some gang affiliation, but I don't know if that's really been properly confirmed. Oh, well, he'll fit right in, won't he, in prison? But, you know, they like if he, you know, hopefully he'll have a really hard time in prison. That's all I can hope for.
Into the United States illegally, no fewer than 4 times in 2023. On 3 separate occasions, he was caught and deported. But on his 4th attempt, he made it past the border and made a break for it. He blended into the population, making his way north and east and west all throughout the United States. But authorities still had no idea where to find him. They ran down 1,000 tips that took them to 7 different states. And finally, on the 14th of June, 2024, Victor Martinez Hernandez.
Oh, so did you see the size of him? Next to these police, the police look like giants next to him, don't they? I mean, this guy probably is tall anyway, because he's a lot taller than this one. But he looks like a bloody murderous hobbit, doesn't he? Looks like a bloody, you know, golem or something. You know, he's like tiny little shrimp, you know. And just, you know, just shows you, see, you don't have to be just worried, so, you know, about sort of great big bulky guys or whatever. You know, it's what's going on inside their head that counts. You know, quite often great big tall guys and whatever, they're like gentle giants, aren't they? And they get picked on because of their size. That happens to my son a lot sometimes. Sometimes you get like little shits like picking on him because they want to, you know, because he's like the 6'5" sort of bulky guy, and these little shits, they want to prove what men they are, you know, like as if that's what proves that you're a man. So that sometimes happens, doesn't it, that these little shits are worse than, you know, big strapping guys who can be just gentle giants, can't they? But of course, you know, doesn't matter someone's size. You just it all on their personality, isn't it? He's got this nasty, he's obviously started very young with whatever happened in El Salvador, because as I say, he's only 23 now. So, he must have been only about 17, 18 when he started it, or what even did he do before that? We don't know. You don't normally start off with murder, do they, twonks? They normally start off maybe with sexual assaults or even exposing themselves or stuff like that and build up gradually to murder. He's already got to murder at 23, so he wasn't going anywhere nice in his life, was he? But, he seems to have his grandma thought he was bloody brilliant, apparently. So there you go.
On the 14th of June, 2024, Victor Martinez Hernandez was spotted on a bar stool in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the manhunt was over.
At one point, when things seemed like really bleak and hopeless, the lead detective said to me, he said,
now, this, of course, is Rachel's mum. I find it difficult to watch Rachel's mum now, knowing what I know about the whole situation. But anyway, she's still a mum.
patience will win in the end.
The suspect was promptly sent back to Maryland, where charges of first-degree murder, first-degree rape, and kidnapping were waiting. It took the jury all of 1 hour to convict him, right across the board. So now, it's all over but the sentencing. And prosecutors want life in prison without the possibility of parole, to make sure that Victor Martinez Hernandez never has the chance to hurt anyone ever again.
And a quick programming note, Rachel Morin's mother, Patty Morin, is going to join us on Monday after the sentencing, along with her attorney, Randolph Price.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Okay. No comment. So that's the first thing. I wanted to just talk about Rachel coming up to her sentencing on Monday. Bless her. I hope her family are okay. Her kids and everybody who loves her will be sort of, be weird, won't it? Because it's like looking forward to the moment of sentencing in one way, because sort of the end of that chapter, watching him go away for the rest of his life. I can't see that he's going to get given parole. I just can't see it at all. He's lucky they haven't got the death penalty in that state. I think he'd be a prime candidate for the death penalty. So I will keep you posted on that. I'm going to move on to our next subject now, but hi, Fluffy. Well, as I did say earlier, allegedly, so there's a court case going on. So Rachel's children have sued Patty Morin and her lawyer, Randolph Rice, who's going to be on that program on Monday, for misappropriation, because they never saw a penny of the GoFundMe that was set up for the children. The children never saw any of that money. Also, and I'm just saying what people have told me, from what I can gather, she wasn't close to Rachel at all. And people that were close to Rachel say that actually Patty spent more time with Donald Trump than she did with Rachel's children after Rachel was murdered. So Patty sort of hijacked her daughter's murder in a way. Also, she's been on tour and she gives a lot of graphic details as well and things, So anyway, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm one-sided in my opinion. I'm sure Patty's got her own story to tell. But just to let you know that the family are divided. And to me, the most important people are Rachel's children. They're the most important people, more than anybody else, aren't they, in Rachel's life? They've had the biggest loss. But so this court case is ongoing, apparently. Is that my phone there? So, as I say, people have to make of it what they will. Sorry, I thought I heard a message. So yeah, that's right. So if I could ask you one last time, put up some orange hearts for, I'm going to find out where I can put the orange heart. Let's put up the orange hearts for Rachel. My phone keeps beeping at me. It's getting on my nerves. So yeah, if we could put some orange hearts up for Rachel, that'd be great. And really for her kids as well, because they're, you know, the older ones, they'll be fully aware of everything that's going on. And yeah, just waiting for the sentencing, and hopefully it'll give some peace when he's, you know, put inside and they throw away the key. And I hope that Rachel's children eventually get their GoFundMe that they were supposed to have. He's going in the hellhole. Horrible, horrible person. And, you know, this is why I don't like GoFundMes, because, you know, you can never be sure they're going to the right person. It's better to just send money directly to people. That's something I've started doing. Just send it directly to them, and you don't have to tell the world about it. You know, you just, if you want to help a family, it's probably just better to find out how you can send it directly to the person you want it to go to. That's what I think. Okay, so let's take Rachel's picture off now. You know, it's I think it's all, I almost feel sort of sad when you get to the end of these cases, because I know that for a fact, for families, they like to think that their loved ones are still alive in one way or another. And when people stop talking about Rachel, that's sad, isn't it, as well? So it's sort of like looking forward to the sentencing. And I'm sure I will still talk about Rachel, but the main thing of the case, like the trial and the sentencing, etc., and the verdict, you know, but there'll be things that will come up and we will talk about Rachel again. And that sort of keeps her alive in one way or another, doesn't it? So, yeah, I've got a little tribute video to Rachel, actually. I think I might just play that, if I can find it. Have I still got it? I'm sure I have. I definitely. There it is. I'll just play this, and then we're going to move on to the next subject. actually got quite emotional there. I haven't watched that for ages. I made that quite a while ago, and I've played it here and there when we've been talking about Rachel, but I just haven't watched it for ages, and it actually got me quite emotional, bless her. Hey, okay, deep breaths. So yeah, orange hearts, because it was her favourite flower is a tiger lily, which is orange apparently. So it's just always been orange hearts for Rachel, Okay, deep breaths, deep breaths.